Okay, my loves. I know there are a lot of you that are out there that are really wondering, how do I even set boundaries anymore? Maybe you didn't grow up with great boundaries. Maybe boundaries weren't really modeled well for you, or maybe you were told that you cannot have boundaries. Maybe you're tired of being gaslighted in your relationships, and you're tired of feeling crazy all the time and guilty for trying to make a difference in your life. If this is you, then I want you to come schedule a call with me. Let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program. The Unashamed Image Program is geared towards you specifically. I am going to be helping you in our next upcoming session of the Unashamed Image. I am personally going to train you how to not feel crazy when someone is gaslighting you, how to be able to stand your ground, to keep your boundaries intact, and to also see through the bull crap. I am also going to be teaching you how to set really confident boundaries that you can really rely on. And I'm going to help you communicate them in a way that really makes sense. Basically, I'm going to help you live a life free of shame and on your terms. If you are ready and you are done feeling all the shame and guilt for trying to set boundaries, if you are not willing to live another moment the way you are right now and in somebody else's shadow, then this is the time to schedule that call with me. It's completely free, no pressure, just love, just support. Go to www.erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. Scroll down the page to where it says, Let's Chat About Working Together. Click on that button and it'll take you to my booking page. If you're ready to live the unashamed life, schedule that call. Let's get you in the Unashamed Image Program, my loves. From my heart to your heart. Bye. Welcome to the other side of the struggle. This is a podcast where we talk about trauma, how to heal it, and then how to take it and use it to unlock your mission and your potential, and to use it to live your very best dream life. When you're dealing with betrayal trauma, it can be hard to know how to heal it, how to stop the pain, and to know what your next steps are to take in your own life. And these are the questions that we try to answer here. Trauma has the ability to rob us of our joy and identity, which is why it's so miserable to experience. But with the right tools and with the right mindset, we can totally reclaim that joy and even use this trauma to strengthen ourselves, so that way trauma does not knock us off of our joy again. Living your dream life should be a non-negotiable, but trauma tends to try to negotiate that with you. And even though trauma is not something that we will completely ever be free of in our life, the pain is negotiable. This is why I created Erin Anderson Betrayal Trauma Coaching and this podcast, is because I want my listeners, I want my clients to live, truly live free from the prison that trauma can put you in. I want you to live on the other side of the struggle. Okay, I want you to stop what you're doing right now for just a minute, and I really want you to hear me out. I want you to go right now to erinanderson.cartra.com/page/heart of gold. There you are going to find a free meditation just for you from me
This meditation is amazing. Let me tell you a little bit about what it's going to give you. Okay? Number one, it's going to help boost your confidence. If you are dealing with trauma, then you are most likely dealing with a confidence issue as well. And it's something that you are really, really wanting back. Number two, it is going to help you find security in your situations in your life because it's going to help you gain a sense of self-love and some self-trust. The third thing this is going to give you is an ability to escape the trauma that you're experiencing right now, this very minute, and help you find peace and joy and love and a deep appreciation for you and your experiences. This is going to really help you reconnect with yourself. So, that is very, very, very important when you are dealing with healing from trauma. So, again, I'm going to tell you what that website is that you need to go to. erinanderson.kartra, KARTRA.com/page/heart of gold. Capital HEARTOF, capital GOLD. Go check out this meditation. Please claim it for yourself because it is 100% a gift from me to you to help you heal right now from trauma. All my love.
Hey everyone! Welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of the Struggle. I have with me a fabulous new guest expert. We have Livia Mendenhall Pewtress, and I hope I said that right. If not, I totally just slaughtered it. But we do have with us a fabulous new guest, and Livia and I have been chatting back and forth about how we find that our clients need emotional support. But let me tell you a little bit about Livia first. Livia is a coach. She's been coaching since 2014, men and women who are definitely in need of some emotional support. And this is one of the reasons why I felt like she'd be fantastic for this episode. She's totally into doTERRA. She's a doTERRist like me. I love the doTERRA oils. And talk about them quite a bit. And honestly, they've been a huge piece to my own healing journey as well. And she's a mom of 5 kids, so she totally understands like the mom craziness and the Mayday. Pun intended with that. But we understand, like, we totally get, like, how we need emotional support and all of the excuses that get in the way of us really truly finding that support, getting the help that we need so that way we can live our very best dream lives. And so, without further ado, I want to welcome Livia onto the show. Thanks for being here, Livia.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, audience, my listeners, right before we got on, we were kind of going back and forth on some of the excuses that, you know, we've heard our own, like, potential clients coming to work with us. You know, like, they recognize they need support, but they're like, when support is staring them in the face. And the reason why is because there's a lot of uncertainty. You know, like, what kind of support am I going to be getting? Is it really going to be the right support? There's financial excuses that I hear, and not saying like that's not a real thing. Like, obviously, you know, there's financial stuff that comes up. There's, you know, especially with my audience, women that are going through betrayal trauma, There's fear of what a significant, like a husband, a significant husband. Yeah. A husband or significant other might say. Man, my tongue is very long today. I seem to be tripping over it. Okay, so there's time, there's, scared that someone's going to tell them to leave the relationship. There's not sure if we have the emotional bandwidth, childcare. I don't know if that I've got the support system. There's so many excuses that come up when, we're looking at actually getting the support we need to get to the place we want to be and to get the results we want to get. So let's go ahead and kind of dissect a few of these. And I feel like financial is one of the biggest ones. And there's so many excuses that, like weave in and out of this one because, like if you want emotional support, most emotional support is going to cost in the thousands of dollars at this point, whether you go through therapy or whether you go through a coach. It's going to cost a pretty penny, right? But if you're going to spend that kind of money, you want to know that you're going to get the results that you're looking for. And you're also, I think the fear of husband comes into this. Like, if I spend $5,000, my husband's never going to let me hear the end of that, right? So what do you have to say to someone that comes to you with that kind of a, concern? So how do you feel about boundaries? It's a legitimate question. A lot of people come to me really struggling with this concept. They often feel guilty for setting boundaries, or they're not sure about even what a boundary is. They've heard the term, set the boundary, things like that, but that's really confusing for them because it's not something that's well taught in our society nowadays, right? They know that boundaries are really important to having healthy, constructive, supportive, and wonderful relationships, but why? And oftentimes they also know that they feel like their boundaries are being violated, but they can't quite pinpoint what the boundary is that's being violated. That's why I've created the Clarifying and Creating Your Boundaries free PDF. You can find out what your boundaries are, how to tune in to what the boundary needs to be, and how to effectively create and communicate your boundary so that way you stay in this place that respects you, respects the other person, but also gives you the confidence in your boundaries so that way you stop being gaslighted, disrespected, and unseen. Having your boundaries really clear gives you a voice and also helps the other person stay in accountability with themselves. So that's not a role that you have to take on anymore. So if you are ready to really have clear boundaries, to really understand what your role is in the boundary, and to give yourself some safety and some protection against people that might try to gaslight you or are just being disrespectful, go grab my Creating and Clarifying Your Boundary PDF at erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. And while you're there, let's schedule a call with me. Come have a chat with me so that way I can really, really help you master this particular skill, creating boundaries, clarifying the boundary, communicating that boundary, and so that way I can also help you have relationships that show up to support you, cherish you, and love you.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is choose to believe it's possible. That's like the key of everything. Is it says lots of times in the scriptures where there's faith and doubt, like you perish, right? If you have vision, then you can move forward. So first to be like, what does it look like for me if I do have support? What would that look like? Even write it down. Write down your story of, okay, I have support. I feel emotionally supported. I have someone who comes into my world that I feel safe talking to me, that holds space for me, that encourages me in my decision to stay, if that's what your decision is. And if you've had that confirmation that God's like, yep, hang on to it, this is your sanctification journey, you're going to do this, you're going to make it, then if we can hold to that and be like, hey, God says he'll provide the way. If I show up and I believe, don't doubt. And if we do doubt, say, I'm grateful for grace. God forgives me if I have that moment when I'm doubting, but I'm choosing to believe that it's possible. I remember the very first time, like years ago, when I hired my first coach, it was like $1,000 for 3 months. And that was like the very first time I ever hired anyone. And I was in this place of feeling like, hey, we don't ever have date nights. We're far away from family. I don't have people to support me, like to watch my kids. And I was trying to grow doTERRA and do all these different things. I was just feeling like I don't have the support that I need. And she just said, just, pretend like, so we made this affirmation that we were like, okay, whatever it is, I'm going to choose that I have the support that I need to be able to, have a date with my husband and whatever the thing was. And I was like, okay, I kind of laughed at her. I was like, yeah, right. Like Medicaid, food stamps, bank account below zero. Like, there's no way. Like, it doesn't make sense. And she's like, just try it. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay. So I wrote the statement out. I have everything I need, and the support that I have shows up. The next day, I kid you not, my neighbor called me and she said, I just felt prompted that I should call and invite. This is like the one lady in the entire neighborhood that I trusted with my kids, right? And she's like, and I felt like I should volunteer to watch your kids once a month so you guys can go on a date. And I just stood there and I was like, okay. Like, help thou my unbelief, right?
I love that.
Like, see that this is possible. And just to prove, that God is aware of us, 2 hours later, my other neighbor comes, knocks on my front door, and she's like, I feel like I should watch your kids once a month so you guys can go on or go to the temple. So one was like, go to the temple, one was go on a date. I was like, okay, I get the picture. You're telling me that it's okay to believe, even though all aspects of life, all reality, people are like, oh, be realistic. Oh, that's not possible. They'll try to, talk you down or say that you can't. And if you just choose to believe, it's amazing what God can do.
Yeah. I talk about this actually a lot in my coaching and my podcast, is this idea that, guess what? Like, I actually don't believe in affirmations, but I do believe in truth. Yes. I absolutely believe in truth. And the thing is the reason why that actually worked out was because it was true. Once you start, like, our voices are powerful creation tools. And so once we actually start saying, help thou my unbelief, that was a big one. Yeah. Help thou my unbelief. I would really love this kind of support, Lord. And we get clear, like, the more clear we get, it's really interesting how clarity brings exactly what we want into our quantum realm, is what the quantum universe is, what my coach Kushla and my friend Kushla talks about. And it's basically just like this energy field, and all of these dots and all of these, molecules literally line up for your benefit. It is totally possible. It is totally possible for you to get the support you need. But not only that, one of the things that I hear, personally with, the financial concern, is there are all these concerns. And like I said, they are valid. But finances are actually something you can create. Money is a creation process. It is something that you can completely go out there and create. And there's, like, I love everyone on this podcast, but there's not a single person out there that can't go out and create $5. And if you can go out and create $5, go out and create 10. And if you can go out and create 10, go out and create 25. And keep increasing your ability to create. It might mean that it takes you a year to get into that coaching program that you've really, really, really wanted, but you will learn a lot of the lessons along the way to prepare you for that program. Just an example, like, I created $125 actually one weekend by selling my chicken eggs.
A
at
lot
a
of
better
eggs.
price. Yeah. Well, I had a lot. I had a lot. But like I said, I personally can't eat them, but I sell them for a better price than what my store does. My local grocery store. And so people come and they buy chicken eggs off of me all the time. $125 in one day selling chicken eggs. There are ways like if you watch like Facebook Marketplace or, you and I think you're in Utah. I think you're in Utah.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. So like there's the KSL. There's like all of these like online marketplaces. If you watch them, sometimes you can get something that somebody really, really wants for an incredible deal, and you can turn around and resell that thing for more than what you got it for, make a profit, but still less than what you would get it out of a store. There's lots of different things out there to create money. Yelp. I don't know how many of you guys knew this, but Yelp actually pays people to go through their reviews and make sure that they're not being trolled, to make sure that the reviews are respectful. And to even edit the reviews just a little bit so that way, they're honest, but they're not out of line. So, like, there's lots and lots and lots of ways to make money from your house, whether you've got chickens or not. Like, it just takes, number one, getting creative. And so, the question I love to ask people when they're coming through my coaching doors is, and they say, "Ooh, I just don't know if I've got the money." Cool, no problem, right? There's really seriously no problem. What, depending on what the price of the program is, say like the program's $9,500, right? What is the $9,500 problem you can help someone solve? Or what is a $1,000 problem you can help 10 people solve? Get creative, get curious, because those are the two qualifiers for getting you in the door with coaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a lot of them you can do payment plans too. Where you're like, okay, I need
Yeah.
this much, but it starts with that quality decision. And I tell my people, I'm like, you don't even need to worry about what the cost is first. First, you say, this is where I want to be. This is where I need to go. Is this my next step? And if it is, you say, okay, this is what I'm choosing. God, I'm choosing this. It's asking, you shall receive. This is what I'm choosing. This is what I feel like is best for me. If you get that confirmation that, yes, this is where I need to go, then you say, okay, now where do I go? How do I get that? And I
Yeah.
like to take everything from like, yeah, people will say, I love that you just got people's brains thinking of different ideas and like, oh, maybe I never thought of that. Maybe I didn't know that Yelp paid people for that, all the different things. But if you know that's what you want, then the way will show up. So even just grab out a piece of paper and write out 50, 100 ways that you can make money and write down everything that your brain thinks of,
Yeah.
even if it's rob a bank. And then you can go back and cross off rob a bank.
Yeah,
Because
please cross that one off.
cross it off. But what you need to do is give it a place to go. Because
Yes.
your brain needs to be acknowledged that, okay, this is
Yes.
an idea that came to me. So if you write out everything, just let your brain flow. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct or full sentences or anything, but just let it out. And then you can go back and review it and circle
Yes.
different things. And then I will take my plan to God and I'll be like, okay, this is what I have. Like,
What do
where
you
do you want
think?
me to go? Yeah, asking,
Yeah.
counseling with the Lord, allowing Him to direct your steps. But He wants us to do our part first. And we need to
Yes.
choose to believe. I tell my
Yes.
kids it's like a genie in a lamp, asking you shall receive. And that's how your brain and your reticular activating system works and all those things. Your subconscious is trying to help you. But if you're saying, oh, I can't, oh, I don't have enough, oh, it's not possible, your brain says, you're supposed to be right. It's not possible. So we're not going to give you all this vault of ideas inside of you that will solve the problem that you have. But if you choose to say it is possible, then you activate that part of your brain and you give it time and space, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I have a piece of paper. Like, what can I do? And write out whatever comes to you. And when
Yes.
nothing comes, you say, I am committed to my butt in this chair for 10 minutes and I'm not moving. because that's what I said. And then your brain's like, oh, wait, they're not just going to let us off as easy as they used to. We don't get to say, sorry, oh, just kidding. We don't, because we haven't in the past. Yes. Instead, you say, yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Well, I think this is a fantastic conversation because, number one, listeners, you deserve some money. Okay. I want my listeners to have some cash flow happening because it gives you the ability to create even more. Like, it truly does. And there's so many different ways. Like, my husband just the other day, like, came home and he's like, and he's a mailman, and he's like, they cut my route, and I might be bringing home $700 less every month. And I was like, cool. How can we create? How about $2,000 extra? Right? I mean, that's literally where my brain immediately went. But it took some time for me to immediately start getting into this immediate creation mode, right? But it's like what Livia is saying here. When you make the decision, and isn't that interesting that decision and desire start very, very similar? Okay? Very similar beginnings to that word, both of those words. And they have very similar energies too, because if you think about it, in the scriptures, it talks about, what is it that you desire? It's not like, what do you need? God's not a genie, right? Mm-hmm. But he is our Father, and he wants to know what we want. He wants to know so that way he can give us the very best, not just birthday gift, but like gift in general. Every single day of our lives, several times a day, he wants to just give to us. So if we get clear with what our desires are, then we can start making decisions towards those desires. So one of the decisions we've made is we actually want to start an Airbnb. And it's amazing when we made that decision. There's a property for sale on Main Street in our town, and it would make a fantastic Airbnb. So we're going to look into it. But it doesn't necessarily mean, listeners, that that's the direction I'm going to go, but it does mean that I have a direction, and I'm going to look into it. I'm going to get curious. Because a desire, when you make a decision upon that desire, it gives you the ability to be curious, and that is a magical energy right there. You deserve to have some money so you can make some decisions for your best interest. So,
and I like to say that movement starts momentum. So if you're just sitting there thinking it's not possible, you're not getting anywhere. But once you start moving, taking the action, whether that's creating the vision or checking out this place, whether it's that place or not, it might give you an idea or spark something else in you that will lead you to the next step that will find you the place where you need to be. And so just trusting the process, trusting that if this is the next step and I do the next step, then I'm successful. Doesn't matter what the outcome of that step was. It's, did I follow that inspired step? Did I get up and do it even if I didn't feel like it?
Right. Love it. Okay. So another big one that I hear is, I don't think my husband will support me. Now, this one I get, because, I don't want to make my poor husband sound like a monster in any single way, because he's not. He's a fantastic, wonderful human, and I absolutely love him. But when I started my own coaching and healing journey, it started with doTERRA too, and me building a doTERRA downline and everything like that. And it made him mad. It made him really mad, and he was out to sabotage, and it was just really his insecurities talking, right? And now he's super grateful that I took these steps and this lead and the directions I'm going, because I'm confident with money, right? Very confident with it, and that's a blessing to him at this point. But I remember feeling like I couldn't make a decision because he was constantly at me. even though I knew this was the right decision for us to make. And anything financial just scared him even more. He would not support me on something like that. So what do you say to someone when their husband is the reason why they feel like they can't get the emotional support they need?
I think a big thing is realizing that their bad day and their past story is not yours, and being able to disconnect. Like, yes, you can still be connected in a marriage, connected in, yes, I love you, yes, I support you. But like, if you think about their job, you don't go to work with them and tell them everything to do, right? Like, they go and they do their job and they do what they're supposed to do in their realm. That's their realm. And your realm is over here in your home or your family or your work or whatever it is that you're doing. And so you say, this is the best decision we need to make for this. And yes, I can ask for support. Hey, maybe I need you to watch the kids this day because I have to go teach a class or go meet somebody to sell this thing that I was selling in KSL. Whatever your thing was, you can ask for support, but be like, okay, this is what I need to do. Be able to disconnect and say, okay, it's okay if you're having a hard day. You're over there having your hard day. That doesn't mean you get to come my joy. My joy is not attached to your mood. My joy is a choice within me. And if I choose, I choose that, my joy is in Jesus. And he is my ultimate partner in life, in business, in marriage, in everything. And he's always there, and I can always count on him. And if the other people around me want to show up and they want to engage in all the goodness and the light that God has and the things that I'm creating, then that's awesome. And if not, I get to love them on their journey and they get to be over there doing what it is that they do. And you can love them and have that grace and compassion. And I like to think of it as that I'm on the sanctification journey. And that's part of the journey is, okay, in this moment, if this person is showing up this way, but I know this is what I'm supposed to do, what do I choose? Okay, I can choose compassion, I can choose grace, and I can choose faith that I'm going to go forward in the thing that I feel called to do, even if this doesn't feel, if they're not on board with it, because it wasn't their inspiration, it wasn't their action step, it wasn't their guide, their thing. It's yours. God gave it to you, and that's what you're called to do. And so your job is to honor that.
Right. And remember, I love what she's saying here, listeners, because remember that this is your decision. 100%. That means that you get to take 100% ownership for it, but 100% ownership might sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? You're going to learn, though, so much about healing and boundaries from standing up and saying, you are welcome to feel how you feel, but this is the direction I am going. Now, your husband might sulk, he might come back at you and say, we're having financial troubles because of you. He might blame you, all of these things. But if you look behind all of that, if you really look, you'll find a fear that all of this is speaking to. A fear of whether or not you actually deserve this. And it's hard to convince yourself that you deserve it when somebody is telling you you don't. I agree. But that then comes back to the decision making. Again, like, if you decide that you're going to do it, and if you decide that you are worth it, and if you decide that it's time for you to get emotional support, and there is nobody and nothing that's going to get in the way, now all of a sudden now you have a boundary. Boundaries and decisions actually go hand in hand. And a lot of people don't realize this. They think that a boundary is something like, oh, my husband looked at porn, I'm going to make him sleep on the couch. It could, but something that is far more solid and far less likely to be moved is a boundary that is set in complete and utter intention of, I am going to do the very best thing for myself and my life right now. That may look like getting into a coaching program. That may look like getting into therapy. That may look like cracking open a book and telling your husband, no, right now I'm taking 15 minutes for myself. You can go make your own sandwich, right? Whatever it is, standing up for your decision gives you strength. It gives you your own back. It is you having your own back. And other people are not going to like that sometimes. But what matters most is whether or not you choose yourself and what you know is right in this moment versus the fears of another person. So that's my thoughts on this subject. Now, what are some things like let's kind of go in a little bit into the conversation aspect here. So, what are some things that they can say to their husband if he is being let me think of the proper word here. A little bit difficult, and now I'm saying that nicely.
I think one of the biggest things is trying to remain calm yourself, because anytime if they're coming at you with any kind of anger or a heavy negative emotion, and if you put that back, if you play off of it, it just builds the contention. And it's really hard to have the spirit there when there's contention. And I'm sure your listeners probably understand this on a deep core level in many ways. But being able to say, okay, I am choosing to be calm. And if you need to step away for a minute and get calm before you come back, and then maybe even recapping. So God says, remember, right? Okay, this is what I've experienced in the past. This is how I've reacted. And I realized that it's not providing the result that I wanted.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
I'm choosing to create this instead. And to support this creation, I've made this decision. And so this is what this decision looks like. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to do all these things. And in that, I'm asking for your support in this. And, if there's not support there, or if I don't know how that money works in your life, if you're like, oh, I have to get it from him in order to pay for the support, or whatever that looks like, to be able to say, okay, I'm choosing to believe this is the case. If you can't provide that support, I'm going to figure out how to do it otherwise. And I'm going to trust that God's going to help me figure that out. If your husband's not open to hearing you say God's going to figure it out, and you're like, then I'll figure it out, whatever that looks like. And being able to find a way to say, hey, I'm going to figure this out, whether that be I'm going to recruit a neighbor for childcare, or I'm going to sell stuff. I remember when I first started doTERRA, we were kind of in that place. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. It was kind of the same area when I first hired that coach. It was probably a year or two before, but I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, I was waffling, so I went and I bought my little bottle from the health food store, and I'm like, it was like $6, but I had a tendon issue in my wrist, and I couldn't carry my 8-pound baby without tears. Like, it was intense. And so my friend gave me oils, and she's like, this works. And so I went and bought my cheap stuff at the health food store, and she gave me the price list. I didn't even know what doTERRA was at that point. And she gave me the price list, and I looked at it and I was like, there's no way. And it was like $13. Like, I look at that now and I was like, I was freaking out over $13 for a bottle of lemongrass. And like,
I know this feeling.
Like my mindset in that stage of life, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've come so far. But
yes.
I went to Target, and my kid was little baby, and they was like coughing or something, and I needed cold medicine. I didn't have one. Went to Target, and the entire shelf was cleared off. And there was 10 cards that said, these are all recalled. Don't give them to your kids. And it was like this moment of absolute clarity and decision. Like, in my heart, I had wanted to do things naturally. I didn't want to use all the meds. I didn't want to go to all the doctors, but I didn't know how. It felt like it was too big. It was something that I didn't understand fully, but it was this whole new world that I was going to jump into, and I didn't understand. And that day I saw that, I made a clear decision. I'm like, God, I want to take care of my family naturally. Because if I didn't walk in that day and see that shelf and that it was all wiped off, I wouldn't have known, and I would have been at home giving them to my kids. Years later, somebody told me it was because they changed the dosage on them. So it probably wouldn't have really massively killed my kid or whatever. But that moment gave me that solid decision that I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure it out. So I called my friend. I'm like, okay, what is doTERRA? Why is it different? Like, why is this different than the one that on the shelf that says call poison control and be careful, and like all the things that says 100% pure on it? And she explained it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And my eyes were open, and I'm like, I'm in for my life. I'm in. And I've bought it every single month since. And not all of them have been easy, but God always provides. And there's always, always a way. And now, like, if you could see my desk, oh my gosh, this is just the one that's sitting right next to my desk.
Oh, I know. You know,
They're like here and they're here and they're all the different things and all the different ways. And my bed of power sticks and all the different, like, everything that I have is here. So no
Yep.
matter what the emotional state,
See? Yep, we got it. Yep, I'm right there with you.
whatever the emotional state I'm in, I have what I need to support my body. And I feel like everything that we have on earth is kind of training wheels for faith.
Yes.
Right? Everything is training wheels for faith. God's like, hey, just asking you shall receive. Don't doubt, don't fear, just trust me. And all things are possible to them that believe. And you're like, okay, yeah, but how? And sometimes because we have these mortal bodies, we don't have that perfect clarity. And God gives us these beautiful gifts of the earth. It says, I'm going to support this mortal self so that your brain can think clearly, so that your body can move freely, so that you can go forward and create the things that you want. And they're so powerful, especially in healing from deep stuff.
Yeah.
And even just on the everyday. So like before I started, I put some Brave on my wrist because I love it. And I put Melaleuca on because it's kind of like an energy protection for technology and different things like that. It was like, it's just here. Put lemon in my water, I take my vitamins, all the things.
That would explain why I've been craving Melaleuca. Like I sit there and just like sniff the bottle.
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
Melaleuca roller. Take this,
Yes.
and especially if you have any kind where you're feeling like the energy of the world is overtaking you or your situation, you can rub Melaleuca, put it like here above your shoulders because your shoulders is where you carry a lot of it, and put it over your belly button.
Yeah, I actually love to put it over my heart too. Yeah, I love Melaleuca. The Melaleuca or tea tree now actually is what doTERRA calls it, but I do. And the cool thing about this is it really does help with emotional support as well. Like you can totally get into these oils for like the physical support and helping like, feel better physically. Like they really do. But the thing that I love the most about these oils is, the emotional support that they give and like how they do give you like the ability to get clear and they help support the ability to feel lighter, to get into that joy. And it's amazing to me. And so for my listeners that are really kind of like looking into the science behind this, you're all like aromatherapy is a thing. You look into the olfactory bulb, which is right next to your memory center in your brain. And so certain smells will elicit certain memories. And it's really amazing how intentional God is. I mean, a couple podcasts ago, I was talking to Naomi Reina about the light filled astrology, right? And how intentional God was in putting us on this planet and how he literally celebrated it in the heavens when you were born on this earth. One of his children. Of course he's going to put things on this earth to also celebrate your life. It makes sense. You've got to realize that one of the things that God is intentional with you because love is intention. So back to the question of what to say if your husband is giving you fits, over spending money or doing something that you know you need to do. Okay? Number one, if your husband is into pornography, you can literally say, listen, I hear you. I can tell, like, I hear that you're not happy with this decision, and that is okay. I'm not asking you to be happy. I would love your support, but I'm moving forward with or without it. And if you would like to, you can get on board and heal too, because then it will take a lot less time and a lot less energy and a lot less money for you to heal as well. And if we do this together, then we're going to be a lot happier. But either way, this is not an option. Right? You can tell that to your husband. You can say that to him. Whatever is the truth of the matter,
is what you get to communicate. And communicate with confidence, knowing that what this is going to do for you is going to help start to bring around these results that you're really looking for. Okay. So let's talk about two more things really quick, and that is time and the emotional bandwidth. I definitely want to talk about like how to combat the time excuse and the emotional bandwidth excuse, because I do feel like these are really important. Because, as moms, especially, we've got kids. For me and you, we've got businesses, right, that we do online. And so we are really busy people. I personally find a lot of joy in the busyness, but you can also overdo it. Like I get the overwhelm. You don't want to get into the overwhelm. So how do you help someone who feels like, I don't have the time, I've got my kids, and how do you help them find support in that area?
I think a lot of it is choosing that you have it right where you're at. God meets you where you are. If you look in the scriptures, he meets the woman at the well. He meets Mary where she's at. He meets you while you're doing your everyday work, where your kids are. So it can be something as simple as I'm going to listen to a podcast. It's going to help me with the betrayal stuff while I wash my dishes, rather than sitting there stewing about whatever might have happened yesterday. It can mean that I'm going to gather my kids around and we're going to do an art therapy thing. We're going to do it together, where we're all going to write out our emotions, or we're going to scribble out our emotions and whatever we're feeling, and that it's okay for them to see mom cry. And they can say,
Yeah.
wow, mom's having a hard day. Because if we separate ourselves and feel like I have to shove it all in, I have to be strong for my kids. Yes, there's a point for that, but not like, you don't want to tell them everything. They're not ready for that, especially
Yes.
betrayal situation. But to be able to say, I'm here and I'm taking care of me. And if they cry and you cry and you're like, hey, mom's just sad right now, I need a hug. I don't know how old your listeners' kids are. I'm sure they're all across the board, but be able to say, Kate, I need a hug. And if are you having a hard day? Do you need a hug? Or if they're having a hard day, you can even say, mom really needs a hug right now. And by them giving you a hug to help you, it's helping them at the same time. So incorporating that into there's so many different resources and different ways that you can find solutions that will help with that, to be able to learn one thing on a podcast, write down the idea, go down, work on the idea. So that's a free way that you can get started while you're working on building up your income and the time, whatever that looks like. Saying even just 10 minutes a day. I have 10 minutes of silence each day. I'm going to write down my most important question. I'm going to read my scriptures. I'm going to sit here with God, and I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm going to breathe. If I feel to write, I'm going to write. If I feel to journal, go for a walk, then I'm going to go for a walk. And I'm just going to trust that even taking 10 minutes for me, or listening while I do my dishes, or okay, I'll tell you one that's random. I didn't know we were going to share this, but we are, that I would do with my kids during a really rough season of life. And I'm like, hey, I just feel like there's contention all around. So we would scream at stoplights. So you would drive, and as soon as you would get to the stoplight, like when you feel the car stop, everyone would scream as loud as they can. And then as soon as the car starts going, you have to go quiet. And so it'd be like, scream, okay, quiet. And then we get to the next one and be scream, okay, stop. And the intention behind it was anything that's inside of me, whether I feel like I can express it or not, I'm feeling the weight, the energy of contention and heavy in my heart, in my life, in my anything. And so the prayer in our heart was, okay, God, help us to shift this and get it out. And there's so many different ways you can do it. But think spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, how can I shift where I'm at and believe in bigger?
Well, I love that too, because I know for betrayal and when you're needing emotional support, you sometimes feel like you're at that stoplight and you just want to, scream. So what a beautiful analogy.
No, literally.
Yeah, you really. Yeah, you can. You totally can. Yes, you totally can. And, there are times where I walk to my door frame and okay, now I'm better. And everybody's looking at me like, what is wrong with mom, but it's true. It's okay to scream about it, The point is there will be the go. There will be the go. You're not going to stay at that stoplight forever. You will get to go again. Sometimes it's screaming, sometimes like whatever it is to let that energy out. That's fabulous. The other thing I would say is, again, let's come back to making a decision and a desire. Decide where you're going to start creating some time. So for me, my kids are up roughly around like 6:45 in the morning for school, and I want to be there for them, to let them have breakfast and to chat with them, to have prayer with them, and to set the intention for the day. But if I try to go for a walk after that, then there's nobody home for my girls, and like all of a sudden the day is lost and there's not time for me. And so I have to be very intentional. If I want to take some time for me, it has to be before my kids get up in the morning. And so I go for walks, I will read scriptures, I will do what it takes to find some peace and again set the intention for my day so I can help them set the intention for their day. Maybe that's the case for you, but you can always find some time somewhere. And if you're not, you've got a very unhealthy relationship with time at that point. Find out where you like if you are completely overbooked and overscheduled, you've got a problem with saying no. And I say that with love. And this is something I'm still working on myself too. I'm excited to say yes to all the things that light me up, but there is also something to be said about saying no to something that lights you up for something that is going to literally ignite you. So make sure you've got some free space in your day. Find time for you, because the time is the one resource you cannot create more of. So think about that for a second. If this is something that you want to do, if you need the emotional support and time is something that feels constrained at the moment, then you need to take a look at your calendar. Let's get intentional about what you want your day to look like, how emotional support fits into that, and how you fit into this. Because my listeners, if you haven't listened to my podcast about the relational tiers, go back and listen to that. It's in the podcast episodes. You cannot give what you do not have. If you are constantly trying to live in the other's tier, you will not have anything to give the others. You have to live first and foremost in the self tier, which is giving things to yourself, and the God tier or the highest love tier, depending on what your beliefs are, right? But whatever your highest form of love is, you need to understand that they do want you to love yourself, so that way you can actually have something to give the others. It's not healthy to live in the others tier. So, okay, last but not least, emotional bandwidth. I I think that is actually a very wise thing, and Livia and I were talking about this before we chatted. I was like, well, that's kind of like time, but really, she's right on this. Like, oftentimes we feel so overwhelmed already with life, and we just don't know if we can fit one more thing in there. So how do you help people heal the emotional bandwidth?
I feel like one thing is, it's like we come back at the beginning, it's that decision. Okay, I'm going to choose that I have time. God, show me how. So even just like yesterday, I had all these different things coming up, and I've been trying to do papers for taxes, and like the papers I couldn't find them. And then the entire software system went down for maintenance in the 2-hour gap that I had like looked for it. And I'm like, okay, where is the blessing in this? What is the gift? Like, there's somehow it's like clearing space. So I got to go and cuddle with my kid and do some other things that I wasn't going to do because I was going to do the next stuff. And so it opens up, and time just kind of shifts and changes. So in that, I moved the appointment that I had yesterday. It was back to back with my massage, so I would have been rushing out. And when I was in there getting that massage to take care of me, she was like, oh, I think you need longer today. Are we okay? And I'm like, yeah, we're okay. This appointment that I thought I had changed. And so even if you don't feel like your schedule is back to back, if you have that clear intention and that clear focus of this is what I'm choosing to take care of me. God, show me how this is possible. Like I started booking my calendar instead of I need to leave at this time to pick up the kids from school. I will book it 20 minutes earlier and I'll take my hammock and I'll hang it at the park and I'll take my book and I'll sit there and I'll wait behind the school. And so when he gets out of school, then I can pick him up and we'll throw the football for 20 minutes and we'll go home. And so it provides this space where it's like, yes, instead of saying I have until the last second to get out the door before I have to show up at the school, it's giving myself a few extra minutes. Or saying I'm going to show up there and I have a neck pillow in the car behind my seat. So I'll just recline my seat and I'll lay there with that pillow and I'll put on a meditation or whatever I need, or pray or journal, whatever, to be able to say, okay, in these moments, a bit amidst all of the things that I'm juggling, I don't really love that. But anyways, all the things that I'm managing in my full schedule and my full life of awesome things, I wouldn't change any of them. I love my kids. I love taking them to their places. I want to be in the car with them for those 5 and 10 minutes driving them to school. I don't want them to carpool with someone else. I love those minutes that I have with them. And so choosing and just being really intentional, like you're saying, about everything in my life. Okay, what is in my life? Why am I choosing to do this? Am I choosing to do this because I feel obligated because somebody else said I have to do this? Am I choosing to do this out of love? Am I choosing to do this out of compassion? Because I know even with my kids, sometimes it's like, hey, I'm going to do your laundry for you because I love you and I feel like I can. And some days it's like, this is your laundry. You know how to do it. I'm going to teach you how to use it so you can be self-sufficient. And, I'm going to be okay with not folding all the clothes. I'm going to say, okay, your laundry's there. I'll wash the new load when this one's put away. They go pull out their clothes, they fold them, they put them away themselves. And that used to be like, I would feel like I had to do all the things. And obviously, depending on how old your kids are, that makes a difference. But saying, how can I, instead of I can't, or it's not possible, or I don't want to cry, being okay to say when my body's going to cry and it needs to cry, I'm going to cry. If I need to journal, I'm going to journal. And just trusting that the dishes are still going to be there, the laundry's still going to be there, all of the things, and asking, how can I? And then allowing God, or whatever you choose to believe, to step in and say, this is how you can. I believe that the atonement of Jesus Christ covers everything. It covers time, it covers money, it covers resources, it covers your emotional bandwidth, it covers all of it. And if I bring what I have, my offering, God will take it, he will multiply it, he will magnify it, he will make it more than enough.
Yes, I love it.
That's enough. I don't have to have all the answers. And many times you won't. For the most part, you won't know all the hows. You just get to know what's important, why it's important, set the intention, the clear decision of this is where I'm going. And sometimes the decision isn't clear. Sometimes the decision is I'm going to do the next step. I don't know what I know the vision of kind of what I'm going for creating, but what is my next step? And just allowing yourself to have space and grace with you.
Yes.
To say it's the small and simple things. I get to choose to let it be easy. And I love the fact that the essential oils help with that. When you feel like you're up in your head and you're like, I can take an oil that will help me get grounded. And I can take 30 seconds. I can say, prayer, God, help me get through this. This is what I have to do. I have 5 minutes before I have to go to this next thing. Help me be present. What's the next step? And then I can just sit there and I can breathe it. And the idea will come and it's like, okay, drop that one, move that one to next week, do this today. And he just he opens the space and let it be one step at a time. Yeah. And don't overthink it. Don't be like, okay, well, do I journal today or do I dance, or do I put my feet in the grass, or do I go grounding, or do I need a meditation? What is it that I need? Just pick one and do it.
Yeah.
Just do something.
Just do something.
You're spending more time in your head thinking about what you're going to do than you are if you just actually
doing it.
Did something.
Yes.
I have obviously we have to be off here in just a second, but I have so many different things that I do. Actually, in my anchored community, I'm setting this up where people will be able to have the option to go down and they'll be like, okay, I'm having a hard time being in faith. Go here's step by step. Just do that. Here's the ideas. Just scroll through it, pick one, do it. And so no matter what state you're in, it'll pull you out. And it's like on demand, easy, available. Like you don't have to wait till a certain time of day or a certain hour to show up for Q&A time or whatever. There's that too. But all of the different options to say, how do I get out in this moment? And how do I turn to Jesus in everything?
Yeah.
Because when life feels like it's falling apart, it might not be your first thought. But if we work on it, we'll get your brain to that point where I'm going to point to God in all the things, because I know that with his power, I can be peace and have pain. Yeah. I can be in chaos and be calm. and it can exist in the same time. And it's this beautiful paradox and the power that comes when we choose it.
Yeah. And see, it's comes back to that choose, right? That decide, that desire, and move forward, because you know, you can absolutely be far more intentional, and like dropping the expectations. If you are not loving life and your schedule feels booked and you're feeling overwhelmed, definitely, like, I love what you're saying here, and go back and check the expectation list. Are you living by somebody's expectations, or are you living by your intentions? And I've talked about this on previous podcasts. Like, one of my favorite boundaries is I live by my intentions and not my expectations. So, Livia, to wrap up here, do you have any resources you'd love to give? Is there, like, let us know how we can reach out to you. Should we desire that? What do you've got? What have you got for us?
Perfect. Okay, so you can find everything that I do at learnlivefly.com. And so to make it easy to remember, you need to learn the things that you don't know, and then you live them, which is the application of that knowledge. And then you can fly. And fly is an acronym that stands for Feel Like You. And it's
Ooh, I
not
love
like,
that.
oh, this is who I am, this is all my weaknesses and all my everything. It's the you that you're divinely designed to be. And so it's that whole core soul alignment and that freedom and that peace that you feel when you know you're on purpose, living your purpose and doing what God put you here to do. So that's learnlivefly.com. You can find everything that will link you to essential oils, that'll link you to my anchored community for Christ. And that's the one we were talking about, where it just helps through all aspects of life to say, I'm going to point you to Jesus, and use all the life coaching stuff on the side for wherever you might be stuck. And it just kind of helps you through life to figure out what it is you're called to create, and to create that with confidence and courage. So I love that. I run the Consecrated Life Project, which is a global movement for Christ, where I interview people on their journey with Jesus. And so if you're Christian, you're seeking to be more anchored in him and figure out how he speaks to you and how you can get those answers and figure out what it is you're called to do, you can listen to all those at theconsecratedlifeproject.com. So that's awesome. If you're interested in doTERRA and learning more about essential oils, I know Erin does that. If you feel comfortable with Erin, totally to contact her and she can help you. Or if you want me to help you, I'm totally open to doing that as well. I love doing the lifestyle overviews, and we'll talk about specifically what it is with your life and your everything that you're dealing with. You can say, this is what my family has, and we will say, this is what will support that, and then help you come together with that. I actually, right now, I can give you a free diffuser, a free membership, 25% off for a year, and you can actually get your own referral code just as a wholesale customer, where all of your people that you can refer to them, and they will give you doTERRA dollars, so like doTERRA gift cards back to buy everything that you need. So if you're like, hey, I need emotional support, but I don't feel like I can afford it, or I don't have the belief in myself that I can yet, if we want to talk, we can get you hooked up. You can get your wholesale account. We can do a class. I can teach it for you, whatever you want, and help your family and friends with their physical, mental, emotional needs, where doTERRA can step in and help with that. And you can get cash back and doTERRA credit to get all the oils and all the things that you need to help your healing journey and to support it. And definitely, if you need betrayal coaching, if you're not already coaching with Erin, call her, because coaching is amazing and it moves you forward. What I found the difference is that therapy helps you go deep into the trauma side and like pull it out and try to heal it. But they don't go as much into the creation side. And I feel like that's where coaches come in. We focus on, this is where I want to be. Let's go this way. And as all the things come up while we're going this way towards that goal and that dream of what you want, we're going to deal with that as it comes, because it's going to help you move forward. And so I choose to anchor myself and my people to Christ. We anchor here, and we get guided on the way to becoming all that we're meant to be. And so if you need therapy, that's great. Talk to your ecclesiastical leaders. There's government programs. There's different places where you can find to get therapy help if that's where you want to go. If you want to go coaching, betrayal coaching, contact Erin for sure.
Thank you.
If you're in a place where you're so stuck in trauma and you're like, I can't believe in myself enough to hire a coach right now, you can go to lifechangingservices.org. I don't know if you know about them, Erin. It is Maurice Parker, and he does like pornography help for men, anyone with sexual addiction, stuff like that. So he has men's programs, and I don't know if you know this part, but he has a women's program, and it's free. It's funded by the men's program. So if you find yourself, and they do focus a lot on like the healing, just getting yourself to zero.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I would definitely hire a coach that's going to help you get into that creation. But if you're in that place where I'm so stuck and I just need to get myself to feel like I'm not drowning, but I want to get to zero, and you want to reach out, I know they usually have a waiting list, but there is that option as well. If you're like, okay, I need support as the woman, and that is funded by the men's program. So that's another option and resource that's available to your people, just if they need some kind of support. I did find that I'd been in coaching a long time when I was introduced to their thing. So I'm like, I could see the value in it, but I found for me, coaching was
Yes.
better.
Yes. And
because I prefer to stick in creation rather than in the past stuff.
Yes. And, there's a lot of free groups out there. There totally is. And they have merit. They absolutely do have merit. And, I like, there's nothing wrong at all if that's where you need to be. But I do definitely recommend getting into coaching, because if you want to expedite your results and see you in a place where you can really feel healed and grounded, that's what coaching does, for sure, 100%. So Livia, thank you so much for being here. Go check her out, listeners. If you're interested in doTERRA, definitely, like I said, check out Livia. You can check out me. I don't have my website up yet being the key ingredient to that sentence. But when I do, we'll have all those resources as well for you. But Livia, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Next week, everyone, we are going to be talking about organizing your day to take care of you. Jenny Layton's going to be coming back to chat with us on that. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. Okay, so I've got a question for you. Have you joined my free Facebook group or Instagram page yet? If you haven't, go and do that. And this is the reason why. I always post my freebies, updated information, and all kinds of goodies for my community in that page. I'm also really active. I post videos. I answer questions. So if you guys really, really want to get in and interact with me, go like me on Facebook, go join my group, The Other Side of the Struggle, Healing from Betrayal Trauma. Come find me on Instagram, Erin Anderson, Betrayal Trauma Coach, and come follow me, because I always have something good there just for you, my audience, and I love connecting with you there. I also post anytime that I have groups going on. I talk sometimes about my programs. So if you guys are interested in working with me, or even just following me and getting as much free content as you possibly can, go hang out in my group. Go connect with the ladies that are there. Also come and join Immune and Unashamed for those married couples that are following me, because in that group, me and my business partner, Kaisen Kidd, are also talking and offering some great content in there. So go join up. I hope to see you on the other side of the struggle. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna